Cybercrime is projected to cost the world $10.5 trillion by 2025. This is larger than the combined GDP of Germany, France, and the UK in 2021. But what if I told you the world's most perilous virus is totally legal and could be operating on your phone right now? Introducing Pegasus, the globe's most hazardous computer virus. Why is it so dangerous? The virus grants almost complete access to your device. To be infected, you don't need to click a link, download anything, or do anything wrong. Pegasus monitors everything you do with or close to your smartphone, and it does so without being noticed. A government anywhere in the world could be accessing your phone, learning all your activities, and exploiting that information against you or those around you. Simply put, Pegasus is a malware program, a small viral file typically delivered online. A malware file may enable the tracking of how a computer is used and even its immediate environment, but what it does depends on how it was programmed. In Pegasus's case, the access is almost complete. It allows hackers to record phone calls, track location, use the phone camera, read texts, and more. The system then sends this data to the person who planted it. The name comes from Greek mythology, a nod to the winged horse. It was first found in 2016, discovered in a message sent to the iPhone of a human rights activist named Ahmed Mansour. Mansour forwarded the link to the Citizen Lab at the University of Toronto, who determined its capabilities. At the time, the virus was programmed to use 3 specific, unknown security flaws. These vulnerabilities were found in phone apps, permitting the Pegasus file to infiltrate a phone without the user's knowledge. The Pegasus malware has existed since at least 2013, taking years to uncover. Its use has been very high profile. The killing of journalist Jamal Khashoggi in the Saudi Arabian consulate in Abu Dhabi, for example, resulted in a lawsuit against Pegasus's creators by Khashoggi's friends, who alleged it was used by the Saudi government to spy on them. In late 2021, it was proven that Pegasus had been on the phone of Khashoggi's wife for several months, placed there by a government agency. The information gathered before his death in 2018 might have led to Khashoggi becoming a target. This link is explored in the PBS Frontline documentary on Khashoggi. Many people first learned of Pegasus when it was used to hack Amazon boss Jeff Bezos in 2018, the same year Khashoggi died. The Bezos hack is likely connected to WhatsApp messages exchanged with Saudi Prince Mohammed bin Salman, whom Bezos's Washington Post had criticized. The hackers had access to Bezos's phone for months. In addition to compromising his business privacy, the hack led to the end of Bezos's marriage after leaked texts revealed his affair with reporter Lauren Sanchez. The reason Pegasus is an especially perilous instance of this type of spying is that it is sold specifically to governments, often for millions of dollars, made by the Israeli NSO group. Officially, its purpose is to track terrorists and their activities, but in reality, the way Pegasus is used is suspected to often be more underhanded. Since its introduction, Pegasus has evolved through many versions, each more powerful. In its newest form, if the malware is installed on your device, nearly everything you do with your smartphone becomes accessible to the user. Pegasus does this by exploiting security bugs, programming errors related to security in things like software and operating platforms. Specifically, Pegasus targets something called zero-day vulnerabilities, issues known by some top security specialists but not the programmers who created the software. These weaknesses, found across all operating systems, let Pegasus exploit the system to gain administrator rights to a smartphone or other device, which in turn grants extensive access. The easiest way for Pegasus malware to arrive on a device is via a disguised link, but there are more subtle methods too. At one point, for example, a security issue meant that just making a call to a device via FaceTime on the iPhone allowed Pegasus to install itself. That security flaw has now been fixed, thankfully, but new ones always appear. When a government wants to use a program like Pegasus, it is almost impossible to prevent, to the point that some security experts suggest throwing away a smartphone or not carrying one at certain times to protect privacy. Others suggest removing a camera or other functionality that poses a security risk. A more practical but incomplete solution is keeping a smartphone completely up to date, which helps limit the security gaps that Pegasus can exploit. As companies learn of these, remember that Pegasus frequently targets security gaps that the program creators don't yet know. In its most modern formats, Pegasus is incredibly extensive. It essentially uses your phone at the same time as you, anonymously pulling in huge amounts of data and sending that data back to whoever placed the malware. So, why should this worry you? You are most likely at risk if you do something your government won't like. While the official purpose of Pegasus is terrorist tracking, it is likely used around the world for tracking protesters and learning about political opponents. Its use is highly secretive and likely subject to protest if discovered. It is difficult in practice to know how governments are using the software. What is certain, however, is that it has been used against some journalists and activists, with the not-for-profit Forbidden Stories doing a far-reaching expose in 2021. They even found that modern states like Hungary and Poland have abused the software, while another investigation uncovered 10 more states using the malware, including India, Mexico, and Morocco. Amnesty International found 50,000 specific targets, including 180 journalists from 20 countries, including journalists from CNN, Al Jazeera, the Financial Times, and the Wall Street Journal. That's likely the tip of the iceberg. It would be naive to think the Amnesty report caught everything. While the average person might feel their data isn't worth stealing, and compared to journalists and politicians, perhaps it isn't, it is also true that data is used in everything from advertising to behavior monitoring. Everyone's data has some value. While there is definitely something to be gained commercially in tracking the average person, nobody, including its makers, likely knows how widespread Pegasus actually is. It is thought to still be in the hands of governments alone, which is somewhat reassuring when considering how its wider use could be abused. One of the best efforts to determine how common the malware is was the Pegasus Project, in which major media organizations investigated the malware over 800 journalists from publications including The Wall Street Journal, The Guardian, and Le Monde. They spent months working on Amnesty International's list of 50,000 phone numbers, attempting to establish its accuracy. They were able to link many phone numbers to the Pegasus spyware. Pegasus's creators denied any connection, an attempt to build something on a crazy lack of information. They said there is something fundamentally wrong with this investigation, claiming that the list has nothing to do with us. In fact, despite Pegasus's abuse, the NSO group consistently defends the software, stating that they provide authorized governments with technology to help combat terror and crime. Your feelings about Pegasus's use might depend on your trust in national governments, but skeptical experts point out that app producers have a degree of responsibility. They provide the apps that have security flaws. Experts believe tech companies' rewards for finding these vulnerabilities aren't enough to compete with the block market value of that information. Apple, for example, tops its bug bounty at $200,000, while some bugs' black market value could be in the millions. As Pegasus has developed, the information it can access has also expanded, including access to Wi-Fi passwords. A version targeting Android phones has been found, dubbed Chrysalis, after Pegasus's brother in Greek myth. The list of countries where the software is used or has been deployed is constantly growing. The FBI is thought to use the software in the US, and it's been found on several State Department employees' phones. At least 2 EU officials have been targeted, while Israel's refusal to sell the software to Ukraine is seen as a sign of Israeli support for Vladimir Putin. Naturally, you might want to know why this is legal. It's legal in most places only where it is used with permission. The software has a genuine practical application. It could be on a government official's phone to record their environment or meetings, enabling a smartphone to appear normal.